I didn't get your chat, but we'll begin anyway, and I hope you can hear us okay. Um, like I said, I'm Matthew Sheether. I'm from Plymouth College of Art. I'm here with two of my colleagues at Plymouth College of Art. I'm here with Tom Donald and Neil Leonard. So what we're going to do today is we can do a little bit of an overview of preparing portfolios for art-based subjects. Just kind of as a little disclaimer, it's brought to you by Deacon and Plymouth College of Art. Although we're trying to keep it really impartial when it comes to portfolios and what universities like to see at application stage, all requirements really do vary. So we're going to try and be as kind of impartial as possible, but when it comes to your students and them preparing a portfolio, do let them know it's always best to check with the admissions department of the university they're applying for, just in case there are things that are different or things that may vary. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through a presentation, just kind of giving you an overview of portfolios. Then at the end, we have got a Q&A with Neil Leonard, who is the BA Graphic Design Program Leader at Plymouth College of Art. So if we just start on the presentation, also just kind of to let you know that talk is listed for an hour, but it should be around kind of like 30-40 minutes. So hopefully that's good to hear. So presentation. So first thing is, what is a portfolio? So kind of in a summary of it, a portfolio is an art and design media portfolio, which is a collection of visual imagery that you or a student have created. So I know a lot of people and a lot of students kind of worry about the portfolio when they're looking to apply to an arts-based university or an arts-based course. So we've got kind of a bit of information on the screen, and then I've kind of got a bit of extra bits to kind of add in as well. So it can include work created in school, college, or adult education classes, and it also should include work you have produced independently at home over the past year or two. It can be many things, and I think the most important thing to let students know is that there's no wrong or right way of doing or showing work at portfolio stage. Most universities, like I mentioned before, will specify what they like to see. So again, it's just making students aware that they can call the admission service, they can query what a portfolio should be or what they would like to see. And also just another piece of advice that I give to students when I meet them about portfolios is just thinking of a portfolio as a creative CV. So something that kind of shows off all of their skills within the creative industry, kind of something that will make them stand out. And I think when you kind of describe it like that to a student, it really kind of makes it a bit more understandable. So also on the slide here, we've got using a range of techniques and media. You should take a varied approach to exploring and illustrating your ideas. This will demonstrate your skills, visual awareness, the range of your interests, your experience, and your commitment to creativity. So again, just kind of touching on something there, is that work in own time is really important. I think a lot of academics like to suggest putting in all complete schoolwork, but it's really great to see something they've done in their own time. And that can be anything. Sometimes we meet fashion students who produce blogs or fashion media students that produce blogs, and they bring that along, or a photography student that's gone and done some gig photography in their own time. I think it's really important to put that in there, just so an academic or someone that's interviewing them can see that they have that commitment to their subject and they're willing to do it in their own time. If you're applying for an art-based course, it's great to kind of show a mixed medium of work. People do understand that, however, if you're applying for a more digital course, that you will have a more majority of digital work. But it's great to see a mixture as well. So I'm having some drawing, some sketching in there, kind of showing all of your skills. So next slide is starting from scratch. So if you're completely new to art and design, you'll need to start getting creative. So kind of coming from the Plymouth College of Art angle, we expect every student to have a portfolio when they apply to us for a degree course. Most universities, I don't want to vouch for everybody, but will ask to see a portfolio. Most arts-based universities will ask to see that. So it's something that if a student hasn't got, you're going to have to kind of pull together for their interview. Again, kind of starting from scratch, there's loads of things that students can do. We really recommend just buy a sketchbook or a notebook and start to record your ideas. So really kind of start that early. Students that are studying our A-level will have that kind of process from the minute they start the course. They'll be recording and reflecting in a notebook or a sketchbook, so making sure they kind of keep that up throughout their course is really important. Your ideas and projects will begin to develop, and you'll start to create a collection of work, definitely. So if they're on an A-level course, they're going to be there for 2 years developing work. So it's not something that they have to completely make when they sign up for an interview at university. They've got all the work already, and it's ready to go. this collection, be it drawings, photographs, sculptures, digital moving images, textiles, or sketchbooks, when presented together, will form your portfolio. I think a lot of people think that a portfolio is just a nicely presented, bound black portfolio case with 6 or 7 images in, and it can be that, but also it can be so much more. It can have drawings and texture in it, and it can be really a vibrant piece of work. So what we want to see, and when it says we want to see, this is kind of, again, what Plymouth College of Art, but trying to be impartial. Loads of universities will look for these different things, and again, please do recommend your students to get in contact with the admissions department of their university of choice, and they will give them some information. So we really want to be taken on a visual journey with your students' portfolio, so making sure that it's really amazing together, put piece of work. So maybe something that isn't just a few pieces of paper in kind of a folder, something that really is a visual journey, something to really captivate the interviewer. The most important thing is that they enjoy it. I've just seen someone else has joined the webinar. Hi Sue, you haven't missed much. Just to introduce myself, I'm Matthew from Plymouth College of Art, and we're just talking about portfolios today. If you do feel like you've missed anything, please just do give me a message at the end and I can go through the first slide that you just missed. So yeah, first thing is just making sure that they enjoy it. The amount of students that we meet and they will go through their portfolio and the first thing they say is, I hate this, my lecturer made me put it in. It just starts the whole interview off in a negative kind of point of view. So it's really, really great for students to just really to be proud of the work that they've put in there, and just really, really enjoying it. I think as well, just learning kind of ways to justify the work when it's in there. So if they were to say, if I was to do this again, or if the project was longer, I would have. So finding ways to take the work that they're not completely happy with, but they've put in their portfolio, just finding ways to talk about that, and that really, really helps. So in terms of kind of the other things that we would like to see in a portfolio, again, being kind of really, really impartial, this is what loads of other universities would like to see as well. But if your students do have any queries, it's great for them to contact the admissions department of their chosen university. So observe, the process of visual exploration is important, not the subject matter. The most successful portfolios show that how well you can visually observe and explore a subject that you're curious about or that you have a personal interest in. So again, kind of going back to a portfolio is really a creative CV, showing off what your students really interested in, their interests, where they would like to sit within the creative industry after. If you have a fashion student or an art student, maybe get them to look at kind of their favorite artists and the work that they're showing. Every kind of person working within the industry will have their own portfolio that they'll be showing to their clients. So get them to have a look at it and kind of see what they're interested in. Structuring your sketchbook, include some research and influences, diagrams and notation, and your own artwork. I think again that's a really important thing to kind of touch on, is the sketchbook side of it. We really, really like to see sketchbooks at interview. It can be one sketchbook, their favourite one. We don't want them to bring their whole body of work that they've ever done in art and design to an interview. But it's really great to see one, because you can see the kind of the reflection and the research and the journey that they go on with their practice. And also tell a story, so link ideas together. It's really nice to see a portfolio flow, so maybe starting off on, if they've got some photographic work, like keeping the kind of fashion photography together, or if they're a painter, keeping the kind of expressionism together, and that kind of really nicely flows within the portfolio. So that's kind of another way of making it a really great visual journey. So what to include in a portfolio? So here, loads of things that could be included. I think, again, kind of going back to what I said earlier, I think a lot of people worry that a portfolio has to be a bound, black and white portfolio case with like 5 or 6 images in, and it really doesn't have to be that. So research and influences, the internet, books, magazines, museums, art galleries, photographs, materials, all of these can be inside your portfolio. They may be more fitting inside the sketchbook part, but it's great to kind of have where you sit and making you kind of see where your work would fit within the industry. Respond to objects with interest in texture, structure, form, color, scale, function. Really great kind of keywords there, the formal elements for students to use within their sketchbooks, or if they're even talking to somebody through their portfolio, just to be able to say, like, I really like the structure or the form of this. It's just kind of buzzwords. It's really interesting to hear. Your own work. Most importantly, sketchbooks show a wide range of your own art and design work across different mediums. Try any of the following techniques, and there's some techniques there that students can try. If a student is going for, say, an animation degree or something, it doesn't have to be all digital work or hand drawing. If they're interested in painting on the side, or if they have a really keen interest in photography, tell them to put it in as well, because it's really, really great to see that. And it's really great to see that they have an interest in lots of different areas of art and design. Obviously, it will be tailored a little bit towards that course, but it's just really interesting and motivating for the person interviewing them or looking through the portfolio to be able to see that they have other interests as well. Your sketchbook should also demonstrate your creative thinking. So again, sketchbook having that kind of reflection in there, the journey that the student goes on while they're studying. Diagrams and notation. So in a sketchbook, it's really great to see the kind of research that they do. So having mind maps of all their work and their artist research and kind of annotating all of that, or even what they've done as well, saying like, the light looks great in this, if it was a photograph, for example, and then in the interviews, like reflecting on that and being like, at the time, I really liked the lighting in that, and then being able to talk through that. So next slide is the importance of drawing. Now this is something at Plymouth College of Art that we really, really like to see, and again, kind of ask the students to speak to their admissions department if they would like to see this, but drawing should be an important part of your portfolio no matter what course you're going on to. I think the really important thing to remember is that it doesn't have to be the traditional drawing. It doesn't have to be your pen and paper or pencil and paper kind of drawing. It can be digital drawing. It can be light drawing if you're a photographer, but every kind of course has some kind of element of drawing in there, whether it's just planning, like drawing that won't be marked. It's just kind of great to see that ability to be able to put a pen to paper or digital pen to a tablet and just seeing how a student kind of interacts with that. So looking at kind of the slide, try to include as many different kinds of drawing as possible. Again, this might be more applicable to a more art course, so like fine art, for example, but do try and cover as many different things if you can. Looking at kind of more of digital courses, if you're doing digital drawing, it might be interesting to see like different techniques within that. The next point is kind of one that's really, really important that I speak to students about a lot, and it's not great for students to worry about kind of the accuracy or whether the work's finished. I think a lot of people think that, especially within their portfolio, everything has to be slick and it has to be kind of finished. However, it's great to see things that are maybe more like trial-based or development. Again, this might be more fitting in your sketchbook, or it can be a mood book form or mood board form, but it's great to kind of have that development and just being able to see that a student wants to try lots of different things and kind of develop their practice. Observational drawing, that's a really, really great one as well to put into your sketchbook or your portfolio. Figure or life drawing, studies of man-made structures and objects, studies of nature and organic things. Again, these are kind of things that will be a part of your practice no matter what art degree you go on to. The ability to be able to kind of look at something and translate that into a creative form. Again, it doesn't have to be your traditional kind of pencil to paper, but it's great to kind of see students being able to be really observational with their surroundings. Imaginative drawing. Now, imaginative drawing, maybe more again for kind of certain courses, but they're great things to consider. They're not essential to see in a student's portfolio, and they don't have to be perfect, but the important thing is to remember that they're just really interesting for someone to see. If you're a fashion student and you've drawn lots of garments that you haven't yet been able to make because you are doing something like a certain brief within your school, it's great to see what they could make or they might have made if they were doing, or they had no kind of time or constraints at all. Also as well, drawing for design, so pattern, decorative elements, technical drawing, digital drawing, object rendering, CAD work. Again, none of this is kind of compulsory, but it's just kind of great for students to get ideas and think outside the box a little bit. If they are maybe like a drawing student or a jewelry student and they've got some really great technical drawings in their sketchbook, again, it's going to be really impressive to see that. I think the most important thing to remember, and kind of going back to that accuracy or finished work thing, is that just please tell your students that they don't have to be an expert. If they were an expert, they'd be not doing a degree because they'd already be perfect. So please let your students know that the work doesn't have to be perfect, and the person that's looking through their portfolio isn't going to expect it to be perfect. So hopefully that will kind of take away a bit of the nerves when someone has a portfolio review or taking their portfolio to interview. So the next slide, for work that you can't squeeze into your portfolio. So this one's got some of my favorite points on actually. Um, so moving images in digital, I get that question a lot when I'm at a UCAS event and a student is asking, can they bring a USB or an iPad with their work on because they work in film or animation or another course like that. And I think it's really important to encourage that they can do that. Again, kind of, we can't vouch for every university. Some universities want to see a physical portfolio, but at Plymouth College of Art, we do accept a digital one as well. I think that's the same for most universities, but again, do get your students to kind of contact the admissions team at their university of choice, and they'll be able to answer that. It's great kind of have that digital portfolio as well because you're able to show work that maybe not doesn't translate as well in print. So, for example, if you're a game student and you are doing a lot of moving work and things like that, it's just not going to translate very well into physical print. So also as our 3D work, this one's a really kind of exciting one and it's something that I really like to mention to students if they're studying like fashion or jewelry or a craft-based kind of course. It's that it's great to bring something. We understand that if it's large or you're bringing a huge sculpture, it's not kind of practical to bring it on the train. But it's really great to see them if they can bring it. I love if like a fashion student brings some clothes to an interview or they even wear the clothes that they've made to an interview. Kind of think of it as like a wearable portfolio. Also, as well, like a jewelry student, if they're wearing some of the jewelry that they've made, instead of it kind of being a photograph in their portfolio, it's really exciting for the interviewer to kind of see something and it to be tactile. This only applies, however, if you're bringing a portfolio to your interview. I really wouldn't recommend sending like garments or jewelry through the post if you do have to post your interview portfolio, sorry, to an interview because it might get lost or it might get damaged. But if you are going in person to your interview and showing your portfolio, that's a really, really great thing to recommend. So slide 8, sorry, I'm going through this very fast, I just realized. So slide 8, selecting and presenting work. So we suggest, again, this is kind of Plymouth College of Art's recommendation, but it's very kind of translatable across all portfolios or what universities expect to see. We suggest that you try to include between 20 and 30 of your strongest pieces of work, dependent on the subject area. So if you're a photographer, bringing 20 to 30 images. If you are going to a fine art course, taking 20 to 30 different pieces of work that you have made. Be selective as well. When you see students come to an interview and they've got 4 of their huge A1 art cases with 6 sketchbooks in the other hand and their family kind of trailing behind them with like ceramic pots and stuff, it's just not kind of the best solution for them because they're going to have to show all of that work to somebody interviewing them in the interview and they're just not going to have time to go through it. So they're kind of going to see a really small kind of section of their work, where if you're selective and you pick up the best bits, they're going to get to look through your best pieces of work. Again, kind of make systematic decisions with it as well. If you're putting in 6 pieces that look very, very similar, I really wouldn't recommend that. Mounting your work, I get that question a lot as well. There's loads and loads of different ways to mount your work. You can buy some spray mount and you can spray mount some images onto like A2 white backing board. That's a really kind of simple way to do it. Some people get their work professionally mounted. Also, if you're, again, like a photography student, you can just print your photographs on really nice quality photo paper. If you're a drawer, it's really nice to see it kind of mounted again. It's not the end of the world if it isn't professionally or really high quality put together, but it's something that kind of just makes you maybe stand above other people and it just makes your work a lot more impactful. So if we go on to the next slide. So preparing and for your interview. So let's read through this one. Now again, this really only applies to people that have got an interview and they're showing their portfolio. I mentioned at the start, so I'll just confirm that for the people that joined a little bit later. Some universities don't interview their students. We at Plymouth College of Art interview every student and we ask every single student to have a portfolio. It's really varied across universities all over the country. So do get your students to ring the admissions team and find out. Some universities ask to see a digital portfolio that's sent to them via email before their interview, or some places will ask them to post it. It really varies, but this is kind of just one example. So if you do come to an interview, a really great thing to do is come to an open day beforehand. Again, it's a really important piece of advice for your students. If they're carrying their portfolio and it's really heavy, the last thing they're going to want to do is carry it around the whole campus. So if they've come to an open day before, that won't be necessary. Also, just requesting a prospectus to find out and have a look through images of other people's work that study at the university. It's a really great way to see what's kind of really standing out, what the university might be interested in. It's a really great thing to do that. So the prospectus will always have lots of images of the students studying on the course. Also, if you're a school pupil, it's extremely important for you to collect your art and design work that you've made in school. I speak to a lot of students that are coming to an interview and they, for some reason, aren't able to get into their school and their work's being graded in there and they have their interview. Just really prepare for that. If you know that you've got a year where you're going to be having university interviews, just make sure that you have access to your work so you can put it together for your portfolio. I've just seen that somebody has put in the chat, have they? No, they haven't. Sorry. Carry on now. So the next slide is the interview. So this one, again, take it with a kind of a pinch of salt because lots of people will have different interviews. The reason that I've included it within this presentation is that that's when a student will be showing their portfolio to us. So it's really great to kind of go over that if you do have students that will have to take their portfolio to interviews. So let me just find that on my notes. That's great. So yeah, this is your student's opportunity to persuade the academic that's interviewing them and that they would make an excellent student. So showing their portfolio is going to be a really great chance to kind of academic to briefly kind of see where they would fit within their course. The interview at Plymouth College of Art will be really relaxed and informal. A great thing kind of about our institution is that all of the academics are working and practicing within the industry, so it's much more of kind of a talk about kind of the industry that they want to go into, the course they've come to look at. They're able to kind of critique the work from a really kind of valid point of view because they're currently practicing in the industry. So again, with kind of interviews, students do get really worried about it, and they think maybe a bit too much about what they have to answer and the wrong or right thing. I think the most important thing to remember is that it is just an informal chat. It's a chance for you to talk through your work, get some advice, find out what somebody else from a different perspective outside of your school maybe thinks of your work, and just a chance for you to show off a little bit as well. I think when your portfolio is together, the students are really kind of should be really proud of that work, and it kind of shows everything they've done over the last 2 years. And I don't know about anyone else, but when I made my portfolio, it was a really proud piece of work of mine, and I was really happy to kind of go through it and show people. And again, just kind of that point at the end there, try not to be too nervous. I know it's impossible to get your student to not get too nervous about an interview because it is a really big point in their lives. But just if they're thinking of it as going through and showing someone their work, hopefully that won't be as nerve-wracking for them. A kind of really good thing to add on that is do some mock interviews. I'm sure loads of you do mock interviews with your students or attend mock interviews or have seen mock interviews before, but that's a really great way for you to kind of go through your students' portfolio and see how they interact with it, see if there's any issues. We've had people before in the past that pages are stuck together in a portfolio and they haven't checked it, so just do have a look at that as well, and that would be really great. So next slide for you is what we might ask. So again, this is kind of what would happen if you were to show your portfolio at an interview. So we're looking for students who want to succeed, work hard, who will be committed to the course, as well as evidence of the subject knowledge in that area. If you're preparing your students as well, it's really great to kind of give them some example questions that they might get asked in the interview or about their portfolio if they're at a portfolio review. Be prepared to kind of answer questions about the subject as well. So for example, when I was a student and I was going to university interviews, I remember an academic asking me if I'd Googled them before the interview because they were a really kind of famous photographer And I hadn't thought to do that as a student. I didn't think to even look at the name of the person that's interviewing me. So again, that's a little tip that you can kind of pass on. Below are some of kind of the example questions that students might get asked. Again, it's not a job interview. I think people really worry that it's going to be a job interview kind of format and it's going to be like, sell me this pen or something like that. And that's not what an interview or going through a portfolio will be. Some kind of leading questions they might get asked, what interests you? What are you enthusiastic about? What area within your subject are you interested in? Why have you chosen this subject? Why do you like this work that you've put in your portfolio? So they're all kind of really achievable questions that I'm sure they could answer. So again, do let them know it's not like a job interview. Think about books and music that you like as well as exhibitions. That's a really great thing as well. Guaranteed when you're going through your kind of portfolio, somebody will ask a student what inspired this, who kind of do you look up to, where did you get the ideas for this? So having a really great kind of contemporary relevant answer to that. So like, this person inspired me to do this piece of work because of this is a really great kind of answer and something that really kind of enhances when looking at your portfolio. So now I went through that so fast, so sorry everybody. I've scheduled in for an hour and I've gone through a lot of my presentation in 26 minutes. So now I'm going to hand you over to Neil. So me and Neil are going to do a bit of a question and answer. Neil is the graphic design program leader at Plymouth College of Art. Neil's a really exciting person to talk to because he's also a freelance designer. He's authored several titles for Bloomsbury and they're really exciting books. And they are about the design process and the transition from education to employment. So what I'm going to do is I've got a couple of questions for Neil, but it'd be really, really great if any of you listening to the webinar could pop them in the chat or in the questions section on the control panel. I think you have the control panel on the right, and we can ask Neil that. And if anybody does have any questions that they don't want to ask in front of everybody, please let me know, and we can answer them over email as well. So first question I've got for Neil is, what are important things you tell to a student or a prospective student when preparing their portfolio?
I think, as you've already said, bear in mind they're not finished article. We don't have to be overly concerned with having massive amounts of technical skill. I think what I'd like to see is 4 or 5 pieces that are well organised, well chosen, and also, again, as you said a second ago, that it's stuff they feel passionate about, they feel represents them as a designer. And I think the worst thing is when somebody says, my tutor told me to put this in my portfolio, because instantly there's no narrative there, there's nothing to talk about, it kind of shuts down that conversation. I think the main thing I would say is organising portfolio is what I really want to see as ideas, because the technical skills, you know, we have wonderful resources here, other colleges do as well. We can train people to make stuff that's quite process driven, but if somebody comes to the course really inspired with really good ideas, a vision for where they may want to take their work, I think that's really important. So if it's mood boards, if it's sketchbooks, if it's unfinished pieces of work, if it's something where I can see a journey and them grappling with ideas or trying to work out what their practice is, I think that's really exciting, and that opens up the conversation rather than that piece is really nicely produced. You know, I really want something to talk about. So I think, you know, think about the narrative, think about the questions that might be there, but then also don't overload yourself. I have had applicants turn up with boxes full of stuff, and unfortunately the reality is that we do have limited time to spend with each candidate. We try and extend that as much as we can, but when you're seeing lots of people on one day, it's sort of maybe half an hour per candidate to talk about the course, talk about their work, talk about them. So I think definitely a careful edit with the things they're really proud of, sketchbooks, ideas, and they don't need to bring the kitchen sink.
Yeah, I've definitely seen students before that bring like everything in the world. So amusing watching them trying to carry it all up. Obviously we help them, but having a lot of work is just, I don't understand how they fit it all on the train. So another question for you, Neil. What do you like to see in a portfolio and what makes a student stand out?
I think the first thing we want to see in a portfolio is, again, go back to that last point, ideas, sketchbooks, some indication of where their career might go, what they may want to do. But I think the main thing from I guess the portfolio / interview is the personality of the student, because as much as we are buying into their ability to create work, we're buying into that person, and we want to know what they're about. We want to know they've got something to say, something to express, and they're engaged with their subject, they're enthusiastic about their subject. And I think one thing I would say to students when they ask me at UCAS events about portfolio is, they might say, I really want to go into advertising, but I've not got any work that will get me there. Well, that's okay. You can show other stuff. So if it's a sketchbook or a scrapbook filled with cuttings of adverts they like, if it's examples of work, lists of practitioners, there's other ways of communicating ambitions rather than just by making work. So I think if there's some final pieces, sketchbooks, ideas, mood boards, life drawing, all that stuff. But alongside that, maybe a folder of inspiration, or a sketchbook just full of stuff they found, like cuttings. Even at the interview, if they're discussing somebody else's work, I can really make a clear judgment as to whether or not that person might be appropriate for the course, and how much they get out of their time here. So, that would definitely be one of the first things. And also, just to re-emphasize the point of preparation, I think you will be asked at every university a fairly standard set of questions, and the first two, which may be phrased slightly differently, are always around why this course, why us, and what research have you done about the course. And if you've travelled across the UK to come to us or elsewhere, I think it's a long distance to go if you've not really read up about the course and who the team are, what the course is about. I teach graphic design, and every graphic design course has its own unique aspects. They're all slightly different. They've all got a different focus. And I think to have researched that and to try and verbalise what that focus is and how that might best affect the candidate's work, I think is that shows real insight and research skills, which again is another thing that I'm looking for, is the ability to research and problem solve and find stuff out. That was quite a broad answer, I think.
It was a good answer, though. Does anybody in the chat have any questions at all for Neil? I don't think anybody, I'm not sure if anyone's able to type in the chat because nobody has yet, or it could just be really embarrassing and nobody wants to ask any questions. If you do have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat below. Neil, do you have anything you'd like to add about portfolios at all?
Good selection, a good few pieces well chosen that the students' confidence talk about is definitely better than bags full of stuff. So a few pieces is great. Simple, neat presentation. I think just a few good examples that show good technical skills, and a couple of sketchbooks. But the main thing is, I would say, try and tailor as much as you can the portfolio to the interview. Again, graphic design here is different to Bristol, and that's different to Manchester, that's different to everywhere else in the UK. And if you read through the information online, you'll see that we've got slightly different takes on the subject. So it's useful just to see how a student might tailor their particular portfolio to that place. And I have seen students drop in nice little things, references to our course, or what we've done as members of staff, and even to the point where one student came for an interview once and part of their research was researching the course and what we've done as lecturers. So our practice.
I've just seen we've got a question from Catherine, so I hope you don't mind me reading it out. Should you discuss pieces in your portfolio in your personal statement? So I think it depends on the course that you're applying for, and also being really aware that some universities that you go to won't be asking to see your portfolio. So if it's kind of the main part of your personal statement is, I'm really excited about this piece of work that's in my portfolio, this piece of work really shows off who I am, this piece of work really enabled me to learn this, and then that university ends up not looking at their portfolio, that might be something that they want to avoid. Neil, what do you think about that one?
I think the two could reference each other quite well, because we get lots of students that do really good work experience. And I think to talk about the experience of being in the workplace, even if it's a week somewhere, and then to see in a portfolio the piece of work somebody's made. So I think it shows preparation and linkage, and a good overall picture if you can talk in your statement about stuff that may be appearing in the portfolio. I completely agree that I wouldn't have too much in there just purely because you are limited on space and you've got a lot to fit in that personal statement already. But even if it's just saying, you know, in my personal statement I spoke about my love of repeat pattern, print, colour, certain colour palettes, or it could be typography. And then you get to the point of going through the portfolio and you actually demonstrate those things. So I guess the statement is almost like a trailer for a film. It will get you excited about what the student may offer, and if they then turn up and deliver on that promise, you're more likely to go, well, that's great, you know, I'd like to have them on the course.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really, really great answer. I think if you know that that university is going to be looking for your portfolio, or every university that you're applying to will see your portfolio, I think it's fine to reference maybe one piece in there, but like Neil was saying, like, you don't want to risk it. Also, as well, Neil made a really good point about kind of the work experience side of it as well. It'd be really great for a student, for example, maybe if they were a photography student that did some work experience, I don't know, for example, with a wedding photographer, if they talk about how beneficial that experience was in their personal statement, but then in their portfolio they actually had one of the images that they shot at that wedding while supporting the wedding photographer, it's a really nice way to link them together. I don't know if you agree. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's kind of the one exception to the rule, right? So always put work that you're proud of in your portfolio. Because I know some of our guys that have come onto the course aren't particularly proud of some of the work they've done on work experience. It may not be the best stuff they've created, but I think you put that in your portfolio to show something really different, is that you can work to a brief or a commercial client or a commercial driver. So I think with definitely work experience based things, you can tell a different narrative and talk differently about your work.
Cool, great. So thank you so much for that question, Catherine. Does anybody else in the chat have any other questions? Please do type them now if you do. Like I mentioned before, please just email us after. I've got my email address on the next slide actually. There with my email address. Please make a note of that, and if you have any questions, please send me an email and I can pass them on to Neil, or I can answer them myself, and I'm more than happy to answer questions about portfolio. But yeah, I hope that was okay for you all. It's the first time I've ever done a webinar, so I think I was a bit shaky and spoke a little bit fast, but I hope it was beneficial. Also, the session was being recorded, so you can download it after from GoWebinar. If you can't access that, if you email me, I'll send it to you. Also, if you would like this presentation as well, I can also send that to you and you can show it to your students if you would like. If not, this presentation is also available in booklet format, so if you'd like me to send you a physical version, I can do that as well. So thank you everybody so much for listening, and hopefully speak to some of you soon. Thank you so much. Bye.